Now, if I ask you today, which country is the biggest strategic threat to Israel? You might say Iran, or you might name Hamas or Hezbollah. But recently, Israeli media has published many articles explaining how Turkey has now become a strategic threat to Israel, even though it was once a strategic ally. Perhaps Israel's biggest strategic threat is gradually becoming Turkey. If you look closely, several Israeli geopolitical analysts have claimed on their forums that for the past 15 years, a process to weaken Turkey has already been underway. Turkey's currency, the Lira, was first made to crash substantially. Its economy was weakened, and over the next 25 years, Israel will make a constant effort to ensure that either Turkey breaks apart or faces severe internal problems. Recently, Benjamin Netanyahu operationalized this process by forming a three-country group. Now again, I'll say this is a very important geopolitical development. This news itself is so interesting, and it opens up so many future possibilities that I would call it one of the top 3 developments of 2025. Benjamin Netanyahu recently held a 3-country summit. At this summit were the president of Cyprus, a country that Turkey occupies half of it. So these 3 countries, what is common among them? You might say they are located along the Mediterranean Sea. That's geographically correct. But more importantly, all 3 believe Turkey has become a strategic threat to them, and now they believe the time has come to deal with Turkey. That is why Benjamin Netanyahu recently used this summit to send a warning to Turkey. You'll find many articles saying that a warning shot was fired at Erdogan. Israel's message to Turkey comes via Athens and Nicosia. Nicosia, of course, is the capital of Cyprus. Greek media, Turkish media, everyone is publishing articles on this. For the first time, Israel stated clearly at an important summit that any country dreaming of rebuilding its empire and occupying our lands should forget it. Obviously, this refers to the Ottoman Empire, which collapsed by the end of World War I. After its collapse, what remains today, Turkey, or as they renamed it Turkey, is the last surviving fragment of the Ottoman Empire. Turkey and many of its supporters, especially in Pakistan and other countries, dream of reviving the Ottoman Empire, an empire that would include modern-day Israel, Greece, Cyprus, and many other countries. Benjamin Netanyahu categorically said, if anyone thinks they can re-establish their empire and dominion over our lands, forget it.
To those who fantasize they can re-establish their empires and their dominion over our lands, I say, forget it. It's not going to happen. Don't even think about it. We are committed and able to defend ourselves, and our cooperation further enhances that capability. Together, we 3 genuine democracies in the Eastern Mediterranean shall advance security, prosperity, and liberty. With God's help, we will bring a brighter and safer future to our nations and to the entire region.
Now, look at their clarity. They move with a defined target. This country is now in our focus. I had told you a year ago that Israel's goal in the coming years would be to push Turkey out of NATO. If Erdogan is removed and a pro-US, pro-Israel leader comes in, then Turkey may not be damaged as much. Its economy might even improve slightly. But if Erdogan stays in power and his party remains dominant, Turkey will continue to be damaged in multiple ways. The narrative will now be built as democracies versus non-democracies. Turkey will be painted as an authoritarian regime. Elections exist only in name. Erdogan does what he wants. According to their narrative, Cyprus, Greece and Israel are the true flag bearers of Western democracies. Now, what lies ahead for Turkey? In my view, the lira will keep falling. Israel will use every connection it has to further damage Turkey's currency and economy. A pro-government Turkish think tank recently published a report saying Turkey must urgently upgrade its air force if it wants to counter Israel and Greece simultaneously. Earlier, Turkey feared a 2-front war. Now a 3-front scenario involving Cyprus is being discussed. Cyprus is small, and Turkey already occupies half of it. So if conflict happens, it will essentially be Turkey on one side, Greece and Israel on the other. Israel's ultimate goal by 2030 or earlier is to break NATO-Turkey relations. NATO itself may dissolve. European leaders may say NATO is pointless. The US is already withdrawing military forces from Europe. Europe may build its own military bloc. Without Turkey, without Article 5 protection, Turkey will look far weaker. Pressure will then be applied to cut relations with Russia as well. India has managed to withstand such pressure. Turkey likely won't. Turkey's S-400 missile system still hasn't become fully operational due to US pressure. Turkey will try to strengthen its air force, sell weapons to Pakistan, or form new military collaborations. But Israel will have US and Indian support. India, being a massive buyer of Israeli weapons, will continue supporting Israel's defense industry. Many Israeli weapons will be manufactured in India. Israel has a huge edge over Turkey. Turkey made another massive blunder, damaging relations with India for Pakistan's sake. In the coming years, Turkey will realize how disastrous that geopolitical mistake was. There was absolutely no need to do this, but by the time they understand, it may be too late. From what I can see, Israel has chosen Turkey as its new target. And as I said, in the coming years, Israel will try to cook Turkey. So, what do you think? Let me know in the comments.